What is going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's Pardon the Disruption. This one is certain to not disappoint. We've had some fun pregame here. I'm your host, Matthew Potter. I'm your short sale guy, Hedge Fund Connection, co-founder of the Family Tree at Real Broker. Reach out to me if I can help you grow your real estate business in any way whatsoever. Real quick, before we introduce our esteemed panel here, this is how we do things around here. There will be 5 pre-selected questions, 45 seconds for each one of our guests to go ahead and answer. Then after that, there's 2 minutes to chop it up. Points will be awarded after that. Our 6th question comes from the audience. Go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed to Pardon the Disruption on YouTube so you can get in the live chat and have your question featured as question number 6. We're going to go ahead and start out with introductions. Starting over in Richmond, VA today, we have our reigning champion from last week, Chris C.J. Jefferson. Introduce yourself, boss.
Yeah, Chris Jefferson, Richmond, VA. Glad to be back. Good to see everybody, including the people that I can't see. So it's good to be back on Pardon, man. I'm looking forward to it, respectfully.
Quite possibly one of the greatest intros of all time there. Next up, we have coming to us from the previous capital of the United States, York, Pennsylvania. Say hi to the people, Eric Brewer.
Technically not previous, but the first capital of the United States. Like, nobody cares who was second, third, fourth, or last week. First. Hey, I'm surprised you didn't announce it in the intro, but I got a email just before the show that for the first time since RJ was out previously, all 5 people on the show today actually graduated high school. So super excited about that. I think that'll lead to a great show, and I hope RJ feels better. But it's good to be in good company today for once.
Shout out to RJ. We really do hope that you feel better soon. Next up, we have Mr. Disruptor himself, Steve Trang. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Steve Trang, Real Estate Disruptors. We are here to solve all your sales problems. I'm looking forward to today's show. I mean, just exactly like Eric said. I mean, I'm looking forward to a show that's professional, clean, solid opinions. So for the first time, it's gonna be a great show.
And also, shout out to the entire panel. We are Team iPhone today. Everybody's trustworthy on the panel here. Last but certainly not least, we have Leon. Don't forget the G Barnes. Introduce yourself.
What's up, everyone? I'm so glad I got that late call from RJ, because if the show is going to be clean, solid, and informed, then I'm supposed to be on this show, right? The other thing is, man, I don't know when we're going to do this, but at some point we got to start a campaign for EB for the York mayor. Like, he has to be at some point the mayor of York. He just came up with, off the fly, a new theme for the city of York. If you're not first, you're last. That is the new theme for his campaign of York, mayor of York.
The Ricky Bobby of mayorism.
Unfortunately, right. I think there's some grainy cell phone footage out there that might prevent me from holding public record. It actually may be on Steve's Android, to be honest with you. So I don't know that that's a real possibility.
Absolutely outstanding. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to get started with question number 1. What are your thoughts on the mortgage lender AmeriFirst Financial filing for bankruptcy? Go ahead and start us off, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, more of this stuff's going to be coming down the pike for sure, especially with these large mortgage institutions. People aren't selling their houses, right? The people who bought 2010, 2022 aren't selling their homes right now. Mortgages have hit 7%, which is, I think, a high since, 1984 or something crazy like that. So I think more of this is going to happen. I think the small operators that are in the mortgage business as well, are going to certainly be impacted by it. I think if you're a loan officer, now's a great time to be considering, jumping onto the investment side of the business for sure.
All right. We appreciate that, CJ. Yeah, rates are pretty high right now. All right, Brewer, what are your thoughts?
So when I saw this, right, I tried to imagine, like, how will that impact the people on this panel and the people that are watching this show? And the reality is on the surface, it doesn't appear that it'll have any impact on us. But when I grew up, there was a saying, and my granddad used to always say, big bank tell little bank what to do, right? So like big bank just went bankrupt. So how will that transfer down potentially to little bank? I think that the potential negative outcomes could be if they were mismanaging money, right, and somehow did irresponsible lending, this could result in tightening of loan requirements, which have loosened up since 2010, 11, and 12. They started to get more lenient. We're seeing things like longer amortization schedules. There's more options for people with lower credit scores. Ultimately, it can transfer to less options for borrowers, which for a fix and flipper and wholesaler can mean that your deals don't sell. They don't sell for as much money, or they take longer to sell, but we might not see that for a little bit. But remember, big bank tell little bank what to do. This will have an impact on little bank.
That's very insightful there, and agreed. It usually is a trickle-down effect, and it takes some time. All right, Steve, what are your thoughts on AmeriFirst?
I think this was supposed to happen, right? Like when the Fed said we want to make housing less affordable, we're going to do whatever we can to make it more painful in the market. I'm honestly surprised it took this long to happen, right? Like if you look at housing prices is what everyone else focuses on, but everyone in this panel doesn't make money on the prices of property. We make money based off the transactions, right? So wholesaler, flipper, realtor, title company, whatever, loan officers, you get paid on the amount of transactions, not the actual price of the home. So we have all felt it in 2022, 2023. I'm really surprised it took this long for a mortgage company to happen. And I think this is going to be first of many. I think we're going to see a bunch of this happening, and we'll touch more on this in question number 2.
I don't know why Steve thinks this is so funny, but we do appreciate the insight there, Steve. Thank you. All right, Leon, what are your thoughts?
I tend to agree with most of the thoughts so far. I do think this is a casualty, and there are more that are coming our way, especially as long as interest rates continue to grow. What I disagree slightly with is that no one's buying houses. I think people are still buying houses. There's rate buy down opportunities. And so I think this is a casualty more so reflective of the refi market. A big percentage of mortgage companies' business is refis. And if you've got a 3% loan, a 4% loan, and even if you need HELOCs and those type of things at this point, refinancing something at 8% is going to be less likely. So I think you're going to see more casualties, especially as rates continue to increase. But I do think people are still buying houses. There's just less inventory available.
So, I mean, I guess the question here, right? This is the first one, but like, is anyone surprised that this has happened?
Not surprised.
I mean,
no.
Yeah. I mean, like Jerome Powell is basically saying that we want everyone to hurt. We want everyone to suffer. This is the hurt and suffer that they require to bring inflation down.
Yeah, CJ's over there searching. He's skip tracing all the employees at AmeriFirst right now to send them direct mail. Lost him there for a couple of seconds. He was I
was
tracing
trying to do direct duty. I'm trying to work and hang out with y'all. But no, I think people are still buying houses, Leon. Yes, but I also think less people are buying right now. There's just an inventory issue, right? But ultimately, the market impact of interest rates and the Fed saying that it's not like we're stopping at 7%, right? Like we're going to keep trending upwards here in the future. I think these things are impactful because one of loss of employment for people, number one, especially with a large, company like this, you've got an issue of loss of employment. This is going to start to affect the mortgage industry throughout. And what that does for people, I'm not sure, but I don't see any benefit, coming from it is kind of what I see.
Potter, you've done an exceptional job this round with wait, no, what's the opposite of that? You summarize Leah, are you all right, dude? Are you good? You hanging in there? You just hanging out.
I'm just waiting for, some actual like eventful conversation here. I was expecting a little more from you, Brewer. You actually originally had probably the best thought on this, though. One of the other things with AmeriFirst that, had anybody done the homework, I'm looking at you, Steve. They're also involved in the DSCR side, investments, bridge financing, things like that. So that was something else to, potentially look at. But that being said, Brewer brought up very good point, big bank, little bank. I'm going to go ahead and award the point to Brewer for round number one. Even though he was talking some smack.
Said, Potter. You're doing
there we go. That's better. So, all right, next up, question number 2. What do you make of adjustable rate mortgages growing in popularity again? Start us off on this one, Brewer.
Adjustable rate mortgages are it's gambling, right? It's really what it is. Generally, what you'll see is an adjustable rate mortgage lowers the interest rate to make it more likely and reasonable for someone to get in to a house today, right? So if the mortgage rate is 7.25% and they get an ARM that starts out at 5.5%, and then typically what you'll see is there's an adjustment period in that rate somewhere. I think it's these banks are pulling out all the stops to try and continue to be able to responsibly lend money, to make it reasonable for people that are not wealthy to be able to buy a home and experience the American dream. And that's, I think, a relatively safe bet. I don't see anybody, CJ said that rates are going to go up in the short term. I think we're going to see that probably for most of next year. But almost every single person is predicting that in like the end of 2024, 2025, that they'll actually be back down to like 4%, right? So I kind of like the ARM. It's a calculated risk. It's a gamble. But if you're looking to buy a house right now, and this is the mechanism that makes it possible and takes a little bit of heat off of the payment for you, I kind of like it.
All right, so we got one vote for ARM from Brewer over there, the calculated risk. All right, Steve, what are your thoughts on ARMs gaining popularity?
I'm terrified. I mean, this is where I'm concerned. Like we saw with AmeriFirst as the first bank to go down as far as mortgages goes. And all the things we saw that led to the previous crisis was housing affordability getting out of control. And with the housing affordability getting out of control, let's do more things so we can help make housing more affordable. But again, the Fed has stated they want to make housing more affordable. They didn't say they wanted to do ARMs to make it more affordable. They wanted prices to go down. And all we're doing now is kicking the can down the road further, making it more painful. People are taking risks. And, we did a lot of short sales and foreclosures back in the day. And the reason why was that we were trying to fit people into a loan that maybe they shouldn't have bought a house just yet. So for me, I think this is where we start getting into trouble of like, should these people be getting mortgages or not? Up until this point, underwriting's been pretty tight. Now we start loosening it. I'm getting concerned.
A little bit of PTSD for Steve over there. He's about to become the number one short sale agent in Arizona again. Good for him. All right, Leon, what are your thoughts?
I think they're becoming more popular for 2 reasons. The first is that they don't want to become AmeriFirst when it comes to mortgage companies. They're getting creative to continue to lend money, first and foremost. I think the second part of that is that the consumer wants to be in a house, has the appropriate credit score, but is looking to lower their payment, right? We've talked about this many, many times. CJ as well has led this charge in regards that people don't necessarily care about the purchase price, they care about the monthly. And so this, on the consumer side, allows for a consumer to take a risk. And that risk, outside of their camera not working, that risk is one that they're okay with taking. Why? Because they're betting that, to Eric's point, that the rates are going to continue to go down by the time that rate adjusts, or that they're only going to be in the house for a 3 to 5 year time period anyway for that ARM. So I think you're seeing the popularity go up for those 2 reasons.
Leon, as always, coming with insight for us. We appreciate it. All right, CJ, what are your thoughts on ARMs?
Man, what a trip down memory lane we're on. I got goosebumps. It feels like 2008 again, 2006, 2007. Adjustable rate mortgages are the average American's kryptonite, quite literally. Are they a good tool? Yes, but the only people that generally tell you that adjustable rate mortgages are good tools are investors who are educated on investing in the home buying process, and they can leverage an adjustable rate mortgage to get a lower down payment to create cash flow, create some runway, etc. If we're just being honest and frank, the majority of people who buy homes they lack education on home buying. They don't buy as investments. They buy based on their monthly payment, and they don't buy with equity. They buy with zero equity at all. And so I think this isn't a good thing, but nobody's just going to acknowledge that banks are businesses first. They're not here to help you be able to buy a house. It's just a business. And so they're going to come out with loan products that allow them to continue to extend credit to people because they know they can just take your house. And they will, as they've done in the past.
Yeah, I think if there was a movie, if they could just make a movie where they talk like something's really big, right? And you talk about shorting, if they could just make a movie about that and you just have everyone watch that movie, I think it'd be really helpful. Also, I am going to become the nationwide short sale expert again.
Incorrect.
Because I think this is what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of business if you're good at short sales.
I mean, I think what we're looking at is if you say that this feels familiar, there's so much that's different about the real estate economy that we're in. Like when you go back and you look at defaults and the amount of debt and the people that are behind and how much equity they have, literally everything about that is different than 2006, 2007, 2008. So this one indicator, I think, that's like we have this scar tissue, right? Like CJ's talking about, boy, this really feels eerily familiar, right? And we remember that we heard arms, and then like 18 months later, the world ended. And there was like entire communities of houses that were left abandoned and builders went out of business. But I think what we're looking at is one tiny little piece and saying, oh, adjustable rate mortgages are back. The economy and real estate's going to collapse the way that it did in 2008. That is not the case.
So
now, will there be other similarities? Maybe.
So here's
but we still have a massive inventory problem.
We still have a massive inventory problem. But so we got banks failing. That's the first domino, right? Adjustable rates. Sure. The next thing after adjustable rates is going to be probably, remember those negative amortization loans? Like, I just don't see that go. Like, that's probably right down the pike. And then you got stated income, stated asset loans, right?
That's
CECL
already
loans,
back.
right? That's a lot of the short sales we did were from stated income loans. And so I think that and you look at how many people have bought houses in the last few years with less equity, right? With a depreciating market, and if they're buying FHA, VA.
But where's the depreciating market? Hold on for a second. Where is there a depreciating market?
Well, maybe I'm just speaking only in the Phoenix market, but there are large.
Yeah, but you guys are back up. You had a dip, and now you're back up again, and now it's the hottest market in the country.
Incorrect.
If you're under the impression right now, here's why I think people are making mistakes. Are we in a temporary hot market? 110%. In certain localities, we have to stop making these blanket statements of all markets. Some markets are holding strong right now. Major metropolitan areas, particularly in the Sun Belt, are being highly affected right now. Home sales right now are at a 13-year low. Right this very second. I don't know if anybody's looking at data but me. All right. Right now, home sales are at a 13-year low. If you're under the impression that adjustable rate mortgages have no effect, when it will become the easiest way for somebody to buy a home, and people make buying decisions to buy things that they can't afford. Why are auto defaults up? Why is credit card debt up? Because of these exact same things. This is literally what happened before. Does that mean it has the capacity to tank the entire market? Not necessarily. But if the marketing is effective enough, it potentially could. And it doesn't mean that they're not good loan products. They're just good loan products for people with the education on how to use it.
So I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. I'm just saying these are kind of things that I am not excited about. These are signs that are like bringing back a lot of PTSD.
It's how you continue to prop the market up so people can continue to buy houses.
This question actually generated a lot better discussion than I originally anticipated. I like this. That being said, I have my own personal thoughts about this, which I'm going to keep in my back pocket at the moment. But I will say Steve and CJ both brought very good points. I also understand the flip side with Leon and Brewer, but to that point, Sunbelt is struggling right now. Point two, CJ and Steve, you guys are both getting a point today. And before we get into question number 3, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Steve for a word from our sponsor, Bateman Collective.
Yeah, so if you guys have ever run PPC ads, you know what a headache it is and a nightmare to keep up with the latest changes. I used to run my own PPC campaigns, and then I found Bateman Collective. I was relieved to find a PPC partner who actually understands the real estate industries and as well are experts in PPC and make it work. So do what I did, get a free consult with Bateman Collective, see how they can make your PPC work and generate more leads for you. Visit batemancollective.com/PTD and get your free consultation.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate that. We're going to get into question number 3 now. Just like NFL teams made cuts for the coming season, what would you cut from your business to achieve your team's goals? Start us off, Steve.
So, last year when we were talking to some colleagues who were going through layoffs and this and that, they're like, well, we cut off the fat, right? Now, we've cut off some meat. And at this point, we're cutting bone if we need to cut any more. And that's exactly how I feel. We've gotten really, really lean. If there's any more to cut, it's going to really, really hurt, right? So if I absolutely had to cut something out, it'll probably be content, right? That'll probably be the thing I would have to cut out so I can get back into doing more of the revenue generating activities. I don't want to do it. Now, I can't say there's never been a thought where I was like, cancel PTD. I hate these guys. But for the most part, I do enjoy, all right, creating content. But if I had to cut something, I think at this point, it would have to be something that really hurts because we've cut everything else, and that would probably be in content.
You heard it here first, folks. Go to GoFundMe.com/Pardon the Disruption to keep us on the air. All right, Steve. Thanks for the answer, Steve. All right, Leon, what are your thoughts? What are you cutting?
For me, I'm good with my 53-man roster. I'm set. I don't need a practice squad. I don't need to pick anyone up off of waivers. My NFL roster is set because, to Steve's point, following April of last year, I always have run a very lean operation. I don't have a big business like Eric does. I don't have a big education business like CJ does. And, I do a few more deals than Steve does a year. But I've always ran. When I say a few, that's like 20, 30. Two would be more, I think. So I don't. At this point, I don't need to cut. And Steve, to Steve's point, when you start looking at roster cuts, there's a reason that the rosters at the NFL level are 53. You cut beyond that, and you don't have backups to your backups that you need in order to win. So, don't cut the things that are most important to your business, which is the bone that Steve was talking about. And Steve, you should never cut content, man. That is who you are. That is what makes your business what it is. So I'm good on my roster, and Steve, you should be as well.
Agreed. Steve, you can't cut content because at the end of the day, who the hell's going to roast you every Thursday besides this panel?
Thank you, friends.
Absolutely. Leon coming with a hard roast on that one. I love it. All right, CJ, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm just cutting bottom performers. Eric was just talking a minute ago about me. I'm working while I'm on the show because I'm communicating with my operations manager in Slack about somebody we're having to send a release agreement to right now, right? Because for me right now at this very moment, if you're not a top performer or you're not moving like you want to be a top performer, I don't want to be associated with you. I don't want to do business with you. In years past, somebody could be mediocre talent. Somebody could be a journeyman talent, and you could carry them through. You could work with them. They could be a solid backup. But that's not working for me anymore. That doesn't make sense for me in my business. So I'm literally cutting out anybody who's not a top performer and not rising to the occasion. Because the top performers and the people who want to be top performers are who drives results and ultimately drives revenue into your business.
Very nice. No Colt McCoys around here. We're cutting everybody. Everybody's getting cut. All right, Brewer, what about you?
I think the first thing you got to try and help people with here is how they should make cuts themselves, right? It's rather than me jumping to an area and my personal business that may have very little impact or help for you, is you need to make sure that you're making these decisions based on information, not fear. I see too often when things get tight and there's this nervousness and anxiety that sets in, people start making all these random cuts, and it's all fear-based. And really what they're doing is cutting their nose off to spite their face, right? They're gonna cut something maybe that potentially is gonna make it even harder for them to dig themselves out of a hole or to be productive, moving forward in a difficult environment. So really what you need to be able to do is make fact-based, data-based decisions. And to CJ's point, it should be things like luxuries. Like, hey, it's always a luxury to have an assistant. It's a luxury to have someone that handles maybe some of this work that I don't love doing myself. So I would start with, to CJ's point, underperforming, right? But we should really all be doing that. That should happen all the time. And then luxuries, but make sure that it's rooted based on data, not fear and emotion, where you just start haphazardly making cuts just to make yourself feel better that you've reduced your expenses.
Yeah, and I think with what CJ's saying about underperformers, like, we've gotten rid of them. Like, we got super lean, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like cutting any more at this exact moment would be cutting bone, right? Because last year we cut the fat, right? We cut quite a bit of meat. There's nothing
it's so
left
important.
to cut.
It's so important, though, that for what Eric just said there, from a data-driven decision, right? A very wise man by the name of Frank Cava used to always talk about force ranking. What do NFL position coaches do this time of year every year? They force rank the talent based upon the facts, based upon what they see on the field, in games, in practice, and they make cuts based upon the facts. It's not just talent. It can be your return on investment for your marketing. It can be your sales process. You should be force ranking everything within your organization, and not just talking about talent, but make those decisions all based upon data.
Unless you're Jerry Jones.
One other thing I'll say too that I had to recognize about myself a couple of years ago is a lot of times we get stuck and we get focused on, like, I look at my income in 3 buckets. I have a now income bucket, a midterm income bucket, and a long-term income bucket. Most people get focused on midterm and long-term, right? Long-term is easy to acquire when you have a lot of now income, right? If I want to go pick up 100 units in a distressed market and I've got a lot of cash coming in within 30, 60, 90 days at all times, I can go pick up 100 units at ease, right? We see it happen all the time. A lot of people get stuck, though, in the midterm income, right? This is income that takes 6 to 18 months to actually liquidify and get into your bank account. And what happens with a lot of people is they don't realize they don't have very much now income actually at all. They may have a lot of midterm income. They may have some long-term income even, right? But how many rental properties do you got to have to cash flow $200 to $400 to really have a decent chunk of change to be working with on a monthly basis? You got to have a lot, right? That's one thing that's not often talked about as well, right? 30 units ain't going to cut it, right? 50 units ain't going to cut it. So for me, man, it's just identifying what revenue, even though I may be making money from it, is it somewhere that I can cut money to get more now income and money within 30, 60, 90 days?
Or can you just patch them buckets?
Yeah.
The bucket's leaking. You got to patch, man.
No, that's a fact.
All right. That was great. I do, we kind of have an honorary like 5th, panelist over here in the chat right now. RJ is cutting the lead manager role as a whole for the entire industry. So shout out to RJ being active in the chat.
He'll be out of a job. He is a lead manager.
Oh, man.
Easily the best lead manager in the industry, RJ Bates III.
Oh,
There he
absolutely. Hands down. Everybody will agree with that one.
He even
All
has
right.
a lead manager name. I mean, telling you.
All right. So on that round, what would you cut from the business to achieve your team goals? I'm going to go ahead and award this one to CJ just because cutting that fat out at the bottom, just like, hey, you're underperforming, your Colt McCoys are gone. So thank you for answering the question over there. And, we're not playing Saw with cutting bone over here with Steve. So, all right, next up, question number 4. Just like Burger King is getting sued because its Whoppers are too small. This is real, by the way. How would you react if a previous seller took you to court over the transaction of their home? Start us off, CJ.
I mean, I've never been taken to court by a seller for a transaction, but I would assume, like Burger King, it's business as usual. I mean, you've got attorneys for that. What are you going to do? Make the burgers bigger, I suppose. I don't know the last time I've been to Burger King. I guess they got a problem with the size of the Whopper. This is like the Subway.
Foot long.
It's not really a foot long. It's 11 inches, right? So yeah, I mean, you just deal with it as a business. If you've got a legal matter, you deal with it, and you got to keep the ball rolling, and make sure you're making enough now money to pay your legal bills, man, because legal's never cheap.
I think the King's doing all right.
Yeah, I think they're stressing about the patty being a little smaller.
Yeah, he's gonna have it his way. He ain't worried about it. All right, Brewer, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult question, right? Like in the context of Burger King, you basically have misleading, effectively, marketing where customers showed up, they paid for something, and it turns out they believe they're being lied to. I think, the real question is, over time, there's going to be more sellers that file suit or come after you for not performing a transaction. We see tons and tons of wholesalers that go out and say, I can buy your house cash, and then they back out the day of settlement because they don't have a buyer, they don't have cash. It's not as is. None of what they put on the sign, the postcard, their conversations actually turned out to be true. And then they'll lean on some weak contingency in the contract to get out of the deal. I think you're more exposed when you don't follow through with the transaction than an actual, which, by the way, if you didn't buy it, they're not a seller. They're just a client at that point, or a person. So I think your real exposure for the majority of the people that are thinking about wholesaling or actively in wholesaling is if you're not setting clear expectations with people up front about your ability to execute on the contract. And I talk to people all the time that have like a 40, 50, 60% release rate on contracts. Like, that's embarrassing. You're going to set yourself up for exposure, and you may, if you didn't tighten up your contract, you may have some liability there and end up in a pinch.
Brewer popping off there. I like it. I like it. All right, Steve, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'd probably just countersue for wasting my time. It's a frivolous lawsuit, right? Like, if we have an agreement, there's a contract, I'm buying your house for this price, and then I fulfilled my contract to you, right? There was a meeting of the minds. We put it in writing. We went through title. We did the transaction. You can't. What would you be suing me for buying my house and doing what I told you I was going to do? I don't really get it.
I think you bought their house, Steve. You didn't buy your house. That would be weird if you bought your own house.
No, I'm saying if I bought, like, I'm talking in context here. If I bought, this is still my turn. Why the hell is he talking anyway? If I bought Eric's house and he sued me,
Potter, hit the buzzer every time Steve says meeting of the minds. He said it like 11 times last week. He said it 3 times already this week. You got to hit the buzzer every time he says meeting of the minds.
It's his realtor training. We're ingrained in meeting of the minds. We are. All right, Steve, I definitely see your point on that. Like, all right, hey, I performed. Why are you suing me? All right, Leon, what are your thoughts?
I feel like everything goes back to the 80s. It's like a Seinfeld episode. You can relate everything back to Seinfeld, and I think you can relate everything back to the 80s. Wasn't this a big campaign, Where's the Beef, back in the 80s? And these frivolous type of lawsuits, I think, you're going to continue to see these type of things in our very litigious society. And I think there's something to learn from every ridiculous lawsuit that you see. Especially in our business, I think it's par for the course that you should expect at some point you're going to have a frivolous lawsuit come your way. So this is a great opportunity to laugh for a second that someone literally said that the burger wasn't as big as it looked like on television. That's how that was their reasoning for this lawsuit. Anything like that can happen to you with the largest purchase and or sale that most human beings will do in their lifetime. So you can expect that people are going to feel like they can do these type of things in the future. So therefore, tighten up and make sure that you have a really good relationship with a business attorney.
And the money to pay them.
Yeah. attorneys, man, they win every single
I
lawsuit.
can tell you they're not cheap.
Hey, shout out to Potter for actually getting Steve's point. I think that should be celebrated. He said during his recap that I get Steve's point. That makes one of you out of 5.
Hey, can we award that man a point? Is it possible to award him a point for getting it?
Yeah.
So if you look at, I was thinking, if anyone has the right to sue or follow this model, it'd probably be RJ for Closers Olympics and suing everyone else for pretending to be closers.
Yeah, thank you for getting that in, Steve. I was supposed to. He couldn't show up today. Didn't feel well. I hope you feel better. Steve got it in for you there, RJ.
Was that a real thing? He asked you to make sure you talked about it?
Sure. Of course he did.
Jesus Christ, man.
I'm not feeling well. Can you cover for me and make sure you get in the closer?
He reminds me, you guys know Al Bundy? You remember Al Bundy from freaking Married with Children? He talked about how he scored a touchdown in the state championship 47 years ago.
It was 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns.
RJ will be sitting on his lead management couch 25 years from now with his hand out.
That's right.
I won the Closers Olympics in 2022 against.
No, what a story to tell your grandkids. But real quick, I do want to say one thing about this question, though, because I work with a lot of new investors, a lot of people new to the business. And one thing I try to emphasize to all my students is how important an attorney relationship is, like Leon said. So many people who invest and run small businesses have no attorney relationship. I hear people for me, I always close with an attorney if I'm closing in the state of VA, for example, just because of building and nurturing that attorney relationship. Everybody's so title company gung-ho, saving 30, 40, $100 a transaction, yada, yada, yada. And they've never talked to an attorney before. Then a frivolous lawsuit or accusation comes up and they have no concept on how to handle it, no relationship with anybody they can discuss it with. So if you're going to be in business, having a business attorney in your Rolodex that you've got a nurtured relationship with is critically important.
So
we had, to Chris's point, I did this example happen 45 minutes ago. Last day of the month, we had a cash transaction. People were scheduled to close at 4:30 this afternoon. They did a walkthrough with the buyer agent, texted our list agent, said they were backing out because of the walkthrough contingency in the contract. I'm like, first of all, where's the walkthrough contingency in a contract? So we send it over our attorney. First things first, I'm like, dude, there's no way they can't be backing out of this deal. And the language in there, right? If you're not an attorney, the way the language was written, it said there's 2 walkthroughs reserved. But then the real important language that our attorney expanded on now, by the way, that people are closing, and it's a difference of $35,000 for us. We would have resold it, but the house would have went back on the market. It says that the only purpose of that walkthrough is to verify the property's in the condition that matches the rest of the contract. It's not this.
You contract.
It's not right. So but the settlement company's like, I'm going to give them their deposit back. They're using the walkthrough contingency. Our attorney hopped in, squashed it. Now they're closing, but they were walking without that relationship with an attorney that I paid with Now Money, by the way, CJ. Shout out Now Money.
No doubt.
They're going to go ahead and close, and the deal's getting done.
Yeah, shout out to the bank account. EB's bank account is crazy. Shout out to
Oh man, hey, that was great. RJ,
good.
Of course,
Real good.
RJ's in the chat talking about Brewer's Whopper being too small, and it's like a whole thing. I don't know what's going on here. Gonna go ahead and start that one off with point for Leon, bringing in the relationship with a attorney and nurturing that, starting that. Everybody else got on the same train, but do appreciate Leon pointing that out. First, point to Leon G. Barnes. Next up, we have word from our other sponsor, which is the Family Tree of Real Broker. If you are looking to make a change in your real estate business, check out therealfamilytree.com and schedule your collaboration call with us. We will help you grow your real estate business. Next up, we have question number 5. Does it make sense to add developing to your business model given the low inventory of homes? Start us off, Leon.
So I actually brought this question after reading an article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago. To CJ's point earlier, existing inventory sales are down, but new construction sales are up. And so I brought this question up because there are some people across the United States that are real estate investors that are struggling to find inventory. And if they don't have a construction background, I brought this up within the CG community as well. Is this something that you're looking to add? For me, this makes sense because I do have a construction background. I do have lots that are empty that I could develop, and I have that experience. But that's the key word here is if you don't have that experience, then it may not make sense for you and it may be a distraction for you. There are alternative ways to go about doing that. But for me, yes, absolutely. This is something that I'm looking into to add because inventory is down 30% on the average across the United States.
Always with percentages and numbers. We appreciate it, Leon. All right, CJ, what are your thoughts on this?
You know, I like Leon because I stay pretty informed as well. All right. But, you know, I think it must be said, I've built a lot of houses, right? There's different types of builders. Production building, which drives the stat that Leon referenced, by the way, new home sales is driven by production builders, not infill builders like myself. All right. If you're an infill builder or you're aspiring to be an infill builder, non-production, you should probably slow your horses a little bit at the moment, unless you have a lot of construction experience like Leon referenced. What I see right now is investors look at infill development strictly as an investment opportunity. And just because they fixed and flipped a large rehab before, they think they can go build a house and da-da-da-da-da. There's so many caveats like zoning, soil analysis issues, survey issues, community issues that you have to deal with. So I don't think it's a good time to add it if you're doing infill. If you're production, you're already doing it. And production builders right now are absolutely killing it. And they're going to continue to ramp it up.
Very good insights there, CJ. Infill versus production are definitely two different beasts right there. All right, Brewer, what are your thoughts?
So first, I would just say no. For the majority of people that are watching this, you absolutely should not make this transition. So the explanation behind the no is this. For most of us that are in wholesale, fix and flipping, we are generally in a marketing and sales business. Now let's move over to building. It's operations, project management, planning. It requires a ton of patience. There's actually a huge PR aspect because when you buy a 140-acre parcel of land that somebody's grandparents were buried behind and they've been driving that, there's this massive PR obligation where people are generally going to talk an awful lot of shit about you, try and get in the way of the project. They're going to say that you're ruining the landscape of the country that their family grew up in. It's a whole different. Just because you're a wholesaler doesn't mean you're in real estate. An appraiser can't do a wholesaler's job. A wholesaler can't do a builder's job. A builder can't do a wholesaler's job. For most of you watching this, absolutely not. Do not get into development. It is completely different. But what do developers and builders need? They need new lots. They need new opportunities. Turn your marketing and sales machine onto the lots and the opportunities that the builders, production builders, infill lot builders need. And that's how you get into development, the supply of inventory.
You heard it first from the future
You
mayor
just
of
give me
York,
the point
Pennsylvania.
now, Potter. There's no way Leon's getting it. CJ second. Steve's still yet to go. We don't have to worry about that. Just give me the point.
Pass.
How are you just going to absolutely eliminate Steve from the conversation?
I'm canceling.
Hold on.
I'm cutting this.
Trang. We call
I'm
that
cutting this.
pass,
I'm cutting
pass,
this
Trang.
show.
Yeah,
The show's out.
You are not cutting this show, Steve.
The show's out.
This is better than happy hour. All right, next up, Steve, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to agree with Eric, but now to hell with him.
That's your
I
only
was going to
shot.
say that this is a very different landscape, right? There's so many skills you got to learn. So on top of everything that Eric, Leon, and CJ have already touched on, it's also the money component, right? How much capital are you going to have to raise? How much cash flow management are you going to have to deal with? You're going to have to go get, blanket loans, umbrella loans. You have to work with draws. And then if you're not managing contractors today, like if you hate managing salespeople, let's add also contractors under that, right? Two totally different beasts. So if you don't love managing salespeople today, and then you're looking forward to managing contractors and subs, man, it's such a different beast if you're a wholesaler. Definitely, I would not recommend it unless you are absolutely hate what you're doing right now and are looking for a change of scenery, do not add this to your
Right.
Hate
That
what
was
you're
this
doing
much.
now
That
and
was
hate your money. You must hate what you're doing now, hate the money that you have, hate your family, hate your friends, hate the house. If you hate all that stuff,
Go
you
build a
should
house.
absolutely become a developer.
Yeah,
so
crazy
there are,
is there another industry like real estate where people try to hopscotch to different things so much? It's like, oh, I'm a wholesaler today. Tomorrow, now I focus on creative. The next day, now
maybe
I'm
contractors,
a real estate agent.
maybe
It's
contractors.
well, jack of all trades are all over the place. That's true.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
Doctors.
So
or you go, crypto
But-
back here, right? The metaverse, you get
Yeah.
e-com.
Yeah, shout out to all the
Dude.
Steve's NFTs, man. Shout out to Steve's NFTs.
So
Tax deductions.
Eric said it best. I mean, this is his point for sure.
No, he didn't.
The answer is no. That said, there's two ways that I've seen people be successful with driving towards development. Number one is the point that Eric made in regards to reverse engineering, finding the people that are building within a metro, a specific zip code, or your particular area, and finding those lots, those houses, for just sell to them wholesale to those developers, right? That's one. The second is I have seen people have a ton of success that are wholesalers partnering with a GC, bringing their skill sets of finding lots through marketing. Maybe they have the ability to raise capital. That way, they're not taking on all of the liability of the contractor and all of the people that come with that team. Is actually JVing with a trusted, vetted GC.
What is RJ sick with, man?
Bro. I don't know. Whatever he's sick with is clearly bringing his game. You know, he's leveling up over here. He's talking about Steve should develop a personality for his podcast.
So here's what I'll say with RJ, right? Because we were talking about this earlier. Like RJ gets lippy, right? The reason why RJ feels so brave, because I was at a hockey rink. I was kind of looking at these guys. The reason why he feels so brave is because he's only fought in hockey gear. He doesn't know what it's like to get punched in the face.
That's why he wears hockey gear to the show and to the office every day, because if he runs his mouth, because he always has a hockey jersey on and it looks like a hockey mask, even though it's his face.
Somebody said he was so
Wow.
sick he couldn't do the show because he had mono.
Oh man, and RJ's in there dropping whales, orcas, if you will, in there. All right. Even
Wow.
even though EB wanted to talk a fair amount of crap earlier today, he gave the most thorough answer on this. The answer is no, and then gave very good reasons why don't get shiny object syndrome within the industry. All right. Next up, this is going to be the defining question here. What is one piece of money advice you have for young adults under the age of 30 who want to manage their money more responsibly? Start us off, Brewer.
I hate this question, right? Like I see this all the time where people are like, don't buy the $50,000 car. Really, Potter? Don't buy the $50,000 car. I mean, everybody's got to walk their own walk. Like, you can give this super boring money advice about live out of a box, drive a unicycle to work every day, and live like you're miserable for 20 years so that you can hopefully one day retire at the age of 48 as opposed to 65. Like, I hate that, right? Like, and I did it. I was irresponsible with my money when I was young, but I got to tell you what, I lived an extraordinary life. And if I would have died at the age of 35, I'm not saying I would have been happy, but I would have had experiences. I went places. I drove the fancy car. I bought the house. I did the stuff. It's just like anything else. It's got to be done with some control and some compromise, where you can't spend $1 million a year and make $1 million a year. But I say you should plan, but don't restrict 100% your ability to enjoy life for 25 years just so that you can have a little bit of extra money. Just make responsible decisions, make some long-term money, buy 10 rentals when you're 25 years old. Don't touch them. By the time you're 50, you'll be worth $2 million.
It's like a partial YOLO answer right there from Brewer.
Kinda.
Hey, it is I mean, it's not wrong. All right, Steve, what are your thoughts?
I would do what Potter did. Just marry a rich woman.
Wow. Shout out to Nicole, my sugar mama.
Yeah, that's it. Just find a woman that's doing well and just marry her.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of hang out in the office, do whatever you want.
Yeah. Shout out to Nicole, man.
That's it.
Oh, bro, that's amazing. Steve's trying to get the elusive 5-pointer right there. All right then, Leon, what are your thoughts?
Eric's so right. This is not something you can blanket because everyone has goals and things that are different to them that they enjoy. This is something that you have to look at what's important to you and then set your plan to that, right? Everything else, have fun, enjoy. But if there were one thing I would say, because this is a real estate audience, if I have noticed a trend with people that have graduated to the collective genius level where they are full-time investors and they have usually a portfolio and a team. If I've seen someone start somewhere, it's when they're in their 20s, when they're below 30 and they're looking at growing a business. They're doing things that are like house hacking, right? They're living in a home, because maybe they're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have a lot of those responsibilities, and they're utilizing their business and what they do to continue to leverage that and grow their business. I think that those are the type of things. If I'm in real estate, how do I manage, and I'm below 30, how do I manage my expenses? How do I do more and continue to grow my business? Things like house hacking are what I would be looking into.
Leon with the most well thought out answer, and per usual. All right, CJ, what are your thoughts?
Man, I probably could talk forever about this. I made a lot of money when I was younger, in my early 20s. Blew a lot of it. Don't regret it. I think Eric hit on some really great points. I believe in balling out, enjoying life, man, living life to the fullest, enjoying yourself. If I could reflect back to my early 20s when I started making a lot of money, there's a couple of things that I really would have wanted to know. What I talked about income buckets earlier, I wish somebody had that conversation, just understanding now income, midterm income, long-term income. I too had the obsession with generational wealth and all this and all that. You need now income. I don't care what anybody's got to say, up market, down market, you need to have now income coming in at all times. The other piece of it would be, man, there's not enough talk about retirement, right? There's not enough talk about how easily you can make money in different ways. For me in my life, right? Like it all just comes off of that now income. If I want to put money in a money market account, if I want to open up a whole life insurance policy, if I want to max out my IRA contributions on both my IRAs every year, you need money to be able to do that. But take care of those things. Go get a financial advisor. If you're new in business, get a bookkeeper early, right? Like bookkeepers aren't expensive. They're going to charge you based on the amount of transactions you're doing on a monthly basis. If you're new to business, you're not going to be doing a ton. Like go take care of these things. Once you go take care of that stuff, man, ball out, live life, travel the world, see beautiful places, drive nice cars. The dick at the RIA who's telling you, oh, I got a 1988 minivan outside. You're irresponsible. Why you got a Range Rover Chris and 2 other cars? And man, because
really personal.
Because I can.
It sounds very.
Shout out to that guy. Shout out to Brewer's bank account. Take care of your stuff. Ball out. Live life. Have a good time. That's it.
I love where you guys went with this, though. I'll go ahead, Leon.
I was just going to ask him if Kirk Cousins was in his RIA because
look, come on, man. Shout out to the Commanders, man. You know we don't got no respect for Kirk over here no more, man.
Well, I'm just saying that because Kirk made $40 million a year and was still driving his Plymouth Voyager from 1986.
Yeah, I saw Kirk on the Netflix quarterback show. They had Kirk Cousins on there. Just so cringe, man. I'm like, dude, you bully the organization for franchise tags. And now you're on here on TV telling us how you don't want to spend any money. Like, look, I think you should spend money. I think we all should. Take care of your people, your family. Go do some stuff, man.
Yeah, but like I said, I love where you guys are going with this. Like, it drives me crazy every time you get these guys saying don't spend money on a car, right? Like, You don't hear people judging on the size of your house. They don't judge you for traveling vacation. They don't judge you, right, for having nice shoes, whatever. But man, you have a nice car. Hey, you are being irresponsible, right? Like, let me pick my poison, right? I'm working hard for my reasons. You're not a car guy. I get it. But let me enjoy my car in peace. Like, stop passing judgment on people that like cars.
That's to Eric's point. That's why you can't, it's very hard to answer this question for everyone, because I am not car guy. I am experience guy. Like, I don't judge anybody for having a car. Like, in fact, I love living vicariously through EB. That dude buys a new car every 6 months. I love seeing his baller ride.
Is it that long?
Well, maybe less,
I think it's like every 2 months on Facebook.
Yeah, that's that Brewer bank account right there.
That brings him joy, right? I know that brings him joy, where experiences and traveling and those types of things are more important to me than a nice, super nice car. That said,
some people,
I think there was some seriousness in there too, right? So what Chris said, let's not gloss over that. I think if there was some best advice coming here from this discussion, that we can bottom line is saying that if you're growing a business, it is super important that you have your finances in order, right? Doesn't mean that you can't spend money, but make sure that you have, whether it's a fractional CFO or your CPA understands real estate and understands business. I think if we were going to blanket any answer, it would be making sure that you had your books in order.
Or just like Trang said on the last question, what was your advice, Steve?
If you hate everything in life, go develop.
No, marry a rich woman like Potter did. Then you can
that's
buy whatever
this
you
question,
want.
Brewer. That's this question.
So, hey, so just like I had a lot of friends, right, back when I was a lot younger, where they were trying to help these women go through college, right by campus, where they kind of dance a little exotically, right? I had a lot of friends that like to put those women through college, right?
I'm picking up what you're laying down. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So Eric likes to put all these car dealers' kids through college. Like, he's got a huge heart. I admire Eric.
Well, my last question is for Potter. Is this something, going back to real estate, we are a data-driven, marketing companies. Is this a filter that you can skip trace? How to find very rich, wealthy women? Is that something that we can find and we can skip trace?
It's a fair question.
I mean, yeah, that actually is a very fair question. And
I'm starting a new company.
The answer is definitely no. So, fun fact on that, I was business partners with Nicole for 7 years before we ended up together. So we actually built the business before we built the relationship.
Long
game.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's what
long
dude.
game.
Hey,
that's long term one. That's the long term bucket.
Yeah, he's not at the driving range, man. He's playing 18 holes, man. I like it.
Chess, not checkers, bro. Come on now. I'm over here playing Augusta for life, dude. So we have a couple PTD firsts here. First time ever, Steve Trang has actually gotten the most amount of votes in the online chat that we got going on over here for that amazing answer. So point to Steve. That being said, I love RJ's 24-year-old rich CJ must have been amazing to hang out. I'm not going to lie. Time travel ever occurs, that's the moment I'm going back to right there. I'm going to just show up in Richmond, VA and just be like, yo, okay, what is it? That would be what, 2010? Let's go.
Bro, 2010 to 2013 was a Jesus Christ, man. You have no idea.
A movie.
What a run, man.
That's it right there. So for this show, we got a 3-way tie at the top here. We're going to give a little home field advantage again because he gave a shout out to the wife over here. All right, Steve, you're going to win today. We are happy for Mr. Disruptor. More than anything, I'm just trying to not make sure we don't get canceled, guys, so that we can hang out again next week, so Steve doesn't pull the plug on us.
Go find me. GoFundMe/PTD.
Exactly. All right. We had a blast today. We hope that you guys did as well. This was a really fun show. It's always fun hanging out with everybody here on PTD. Make sure that you do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pardon the Disruption, and we're going to go ahead and let everybody say goodbye. We'll start with our winner for today. Steve, say bye to the people.
Yeah, it was a great show. It was probably our best show ever. We didn't have anybody to gunk it up, so just appreciate the panel here. It was just great hanging out with friends.
Shout out to RJ in the chat, clearly. All right, Leon, say bye to the people.
Fun show indeed. And RJ, I promise that anytime you need me, I am not just coming on here because it makes the show better. I actually was doing a friend of solid.
Awesome. We always love when Leon is on the show. CJ, say bye to the people.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, man, this is really kind of a beautiful moment. I don't get to do this often, where somebody else wins when I'm on the show. So I want to highlight Steve Trang in this, and it's so heartfelt how I feel right now. I'm getting a little emotional because to see somebody's Rudy moment, just right in front of your eyes is special. It's special. So congrats to Steve on his win today. Rudy got in the game and he got to make a tackle too, man. So shout out to you for that. And it's good seeing you guys. Leon, you as well. And peace.
Good old Rudy Trang. We love him. We do. Brewer, say bye to the people.
I should have known the fix is in when Potter said, I actually got Trang's point. Like, from that moment on, the rest of us pushed our chips in. But no, shout out to RJ. Somehow he's too sick to be on the show, but he was on the show. All up in the comments, probably like he was in CJ's DMs between 2010 and 2013. If we're being honest, but anybody looking for a lead manager nationwide, hit up RJ Bate. Dude schedules an appointment with the best of them. He could schedule appointments for me anytime. But no, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. It was awesome having 4 people with diplomas on here to share this hour with me. And if someone could actually transcribe this into broken Texas English and email that over to RJ so that he can feel like he was part of the group today, I think he would really appreciate that.
Don't worry, Brewer. We got a Tinglish translator around here. No worries.
Use that artificial lack of intelligence tool and then plug it in there. It'll translate it into RJ terms.
The lesser known ALI.
Yes. It's still in beta.
Can't wait. Can't wait for the live show in person.
Oh yeah, this is outstanding. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We will see you next week.